A spike in the latest number of coronavirus cases here in San Diego. What a local epidemiologist says about this jump. Gavin Newsom joined by past California governors teaming up in hopes of sending a message to the public during this pandemic. And a federal investigation underway after a noose was found in a black driver's garage amid NASCAR's recent push to fight racism in that sport. ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
Hello there. Thanks for joining us. I'm Virginia Cha. This is just in. Governor Newsom and lawmakers announcing they have reached an agreement on the state budget. We are still waiting for the details, but we do know a little about the education part of the budget. Local school district leaders had been waiting for the state to pass a budget before moving forward with their reopening plans. The LA Times reporting funding for K-12 schools was largely left at current service levels. The paper also reporting the budget gives schools a one-time boost of about $5 billion from the state's portion of the Federal CARES Act to help cover distance learning and other unexpected costs related to the pandemic. The university systems are seeing a cut of roughly $970 million. 10 News is working on getting some more details on how this state budget will affect San Diego, and we will let you know as soon as we do. Meanwhile, the latest county numbers show a huge increase in the percentage of tests that most recently came back positive for COVID-19. ABC 10 News reporter Marie Coronel spoke with an expert about what could be some of the reasons for the increase that went to 7%.
From Saturday to Sunday, there were 310 more cases of the coronavirus reported in the county. This news came just as more businesses reopened over the weekend. As of Sunday, the number of positive cases in the county sits at 10,794. Of the more than 4,000 test results that came back, 7% were positive cases, which is significantly higher compared to the county trend of 2 to 3%. Dr. Tyler Smith, a National University professor and epidemiologist, says a number of things can cause that number to increase.
The increased numbers of cases are likely due to the numbers of testing that they're doing. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a necessary approach to get our hands around this.
But he adds it's also important to note there is a correlation between the results of testing and more people leaving their homes.
Anytime we have gatherings, protest gatherings or other public gatherings, you're going to increase the probability of spread. That's just, we know this, and we knew this going in.
This past weekend, for the first time in months since the coronavirus pandemic shut everything down, things picked up at the gas lamp area. Nearly a dozen restaurants expanded onto the streets. Dr. Smith says while it's important to notice a spike in day-to-day reporting, he says it's important to look at the trends and not just daily numbers, which is key in making sure hospitals don't get overwhelmed.
Hopefully it's not a one-size-fits-all. Hopefully they see certain areas where there's large increases that might impact the healthcare system, and they focus on shutting aspects of those environments down.
Again, these latest numbers are just from one day of reporting. Dr. Smith says there are a number of things that can be influencing this, including more people venturing out. So he says it's important to look at the trends overall before drawing any conclusions. From the Embarcadero, Marie Coronel, ABC 10 News.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization is warning we have entered a dangerous new phase of the pandemic. ABC's Rena Roy explains there have been 25,000 new cases in the U.S. just over the past 24 hours alone, and that is as states continue to reopen.
A dire warning from health officials with the country reopening and at least 22 states seeing an increase in cases, 12 setting daily records.
I don't think we're going to see 1, 2, and 3 waves. I think we're going to just see one very, very difficult forest fire of cases.
A new model shows Florida could become the country's new epicenter. In this chart of Miami, you can see projected cases skyrocketing in July. More than half of the cases reported on Saturday were under 35 years old. Doctors urging young people, especially those living with older family members, to take this seriously.
We're starting to see these asymptomatic spreaders passing it along to their family members, their parents and their grandparents, who are definitely more likely to get sick as opposed to a younger, healthier individual.
Initially, Governor Ron DeSantis claimed the jump was a result of increased testing, but now he says there's more to it.
That's an indication, certainly in that age group, that you're seeing more transmission in the community. It's not purely just a function of the fact that they're testing more.
Also reporting more cases, Texas, South Carolina, and California, where healthcare workers at El Centro Regional Medical Center say they're overwhelmed.
It's constant suffering and death and dying.
However, some areas are pushing forward. New York City, the country's former epicenter, entering phase 2 of reopening today. That includes outdoor dining, salons, barbershops, and more retail stores.
Today is a very, very important day for this city. As the nation's largest city, the nation's largest economy gets back on its feet, phase 2 begins today. A huge step forward, the biggest step forward.
Meantime, others are scaling back on reopening plans. Tennessee's Shelby County, which includes Memphis, could return to phase 1 after seeing its largest single-day increase of cases over the weekend. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
And as we see numbers rising across the country, a new push here in California to get people to wear facial covering.
This is not about being weak.
It's about fighting the disease and keeping our families and ourselves safe.
Former California governors Arnold Schwarzenegger and Gray Davis teaming up with Governors Newsom, Jerry Brown, and Pete Wilson in a new PSA today. The current and former California leaders appearing in a video promoting mask use. Each of the governors saying while things are reopening, the fight against COVID-19 isn't over. They reiterated that wearing masks in public will help cut down on transmission. Well, President Trump is scheduled to visit Arizona tomorrow to mark the completion of 200 miles of border wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. ABC 10 News anchor Mary McKenzie shows us the significance of that visit.
This president, more than any other, is chomping at the bit to be campaigning.
Political insider John Dadian says President Trump's visit to Arizona has several key components.
The wall, that's his main calling card, has been for 3.5 years. He wants to go to the cliche of securing his base, getting them excited to remind them that he's actually accomplished this.
The White House says he'll start in Yuma, where he'll be briefed on the state of border wall construction, much like his visit last April to El Centro, the two cities' main hubs for building the border wall. This visit to Yuma and to more cities in Arizona comes as that state continues to see a record number of cases and hospitalizations due to COVID-19. In Yuma, they've seen quadruple the number of cases since the start of the month. It will surely be a hot topic during the visit, particularly after his own admission Saturday that he asked to have testing slowed down so the numbers wouldn't increase. And Arizona is seen as a battleground state this coming November.
In general, politically, it's a swing state, and he really feels that that's one that he needs to put in the win column in November.
Dadian says Trump wasn't happy with the turnout in Tulsa and is hoping this will continue the kickstart of his campaign for re-election amidst a curveball of the pandemic. Mary McKenzie, ABC 10 News.
With a father accused of intentionally driving off Sunset Cliffs with his twin daughters in his truck is expected in court today. Fortunately, those little girls are okay after a heroic rescue by a San Diego police canine officer who used a dog leash to rappel down those cliffs and work with lifeguards to rescue those girls. The father, Robert Bryans, is facing charges of attempted murder, kidnapping, burglary, and child cruelty. The father has been in trouble with the law before, the most recent time in May, accused of domestic battery. Well, the FBI is investigating after a noose was found hanging in the team garage of NASCAR's only full-time black driver. ESPN reports Bubba Wallace never saw the noose himself, but someone on his team saw it and immediately alerted NASCAR. Wallace had been vocal on racial justice issues in recent weeks, even planned on driving a car with Black Lives Matter painted on it. That also came as NASCAR moved to ban displays of the Confederate flag from its events. Over the weekend, though, a plane flew above the track in Alabama, pulling a banner of the Confederate flag that read, quote, "Defund NASCAR." Yesterday's race was postponed to today due to rain, and it should be starting at noon. California has awarded almost $20 million to help military veterans in San Diego and Orange County. That money is to help house veterans who are at risk or are actually homeless right now. The money will go to developers and nonprofits to build affordable multi-family housing. It will also fund projects in 10 California counties to create 421 units for veterans. Well, Del Mar Fairgrounds officials are pushing ahead with one of several ideas to boost revenue. They are looking at installing temporary housing for homeless veterans. As many as 1,000 modular units would arrive pre-assembled. Then a company called Fix Solutions would install those and oversee that housing. The fairgrounds would collect the revenue. It's just one of many avenues officials are looking at to try to make up for the losses stemming from the pandemic. This is video of the fairgrounds last month. You can see it's empty. Officials there say they will be down about 92% of their annual revenue by the end of summer. Earlier this month, they announced they would be laying off more than half of their staff.